Business Studies, Class 12, Chapter Number 1, Nature and Significance of Management, reading only. Management at Tata Steel. Founded in 1868 by Jamshedji Nusserwanji, the Tata and the Tata Group is a global business conglomerate operating in over 100 countries across 5 continents. His strong sense of values and spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship are a legacy that continues to guide Tata companies till date. He had 4 goals in life: setting up an iron and steel company, a world-class learning institution, a unique hotel, and a hydroelectric plant. Only the hotel became a reality during his lifetime. With the inauguration of the Taj Mahal Hotel at Colombo waterfront in Mumbai on 3rd December 1903, at the cost of 11 million, worth 11 billion in 2015 prices. At that time, it was the only hotel in India to have electricity. He believed that satisfied workers create satisfied workers, and in lieu to this principle, he paid all the workers gratuity provident fund well before it was made mandatory. His management skills were clearly evident with when minute details were chalked in planning and building the entire city of Jamshedpur. The values and principles that have governed the business for a century are enshrined in the Tata Code of Conduct (TCOC). From an early foray into steel and automobiles to staying abreast of the latest technologies, the Tata Group today has 29 public listed Tata enterprises, which include Tata Steel, Tata Motors, Tata Consultancy Services, Tata Power, Tata Chemicals, Tata Global Beverages, Tata Teleservices, Titan, Tata Communications, and Indian Hotels. The group has a combined market capitalization of around $103.51 billion dollars 2016-17. Tata has a strong sense of social responsibility. They balance economic prosperity, environmental responsibility, and social benefits of the community. In India, they are a partner in progress with Odisha and believe in taking its stakeholders forward in its journey of growth. Tata Steel Thailand is one of the first 30 companies that joined UNICEF in child friendly business in the Child Sustainability Forum to make a commitment in protecting children's rights. Tata Steel Europe's Community Partnership Program. Future generations with sub-theme of education, environment, health and well-being works across the UK, assisting job and wealth creation by supporting small and medium business with finance and business premises. They also play a constructive role in addressing climate change, both by reducing carbon footprint and by creating high performance steels that lead to fuel efficient vehicles and energy efficient buildings. The environment management systems meet the ISO 14001 standards at all of their main manufacturing sites, shaped by a lineage of sound and straightforward business principles. The Tata Group is built on a foundation of trust and transparency. Building such huge enterprises, sustaining and running them profitability are possible only through effective and efficient management and coordination at all levels. Introduction. The above case is an example of a successful organization which is amongst the top companies in India. It has risen to the top because of its quality of management. Management is required in all kinds of organizations, those manufacturing handlooms, trading in consumer goods, or providing hairstyle services, and even in non-business organizations. Let us take another example. Smita Rai is a 38-year-old entrepreneur who grew up in a rural district called Namchi, South Sikkim. She was very good in art and craft, particularly wax molds. She loved to make candles. Often she made into toys and small pieces of art with wax and used it as a gift for her friends and relatives. She was loved and appreciated for those. Smitha was never happy with the condition of the women in her district as most were poor and jobless, so she planned to do something to solve their problems because she knew that imparting skills for livelihood is needed, but she had no idea of how to implement her idea. In August 2012, she met Abhishek Lama, the branch manager of NEDFI Namchi branch, a financial corporation which support local people with skill development program and also channelize them into revenue generating activities. Smita got interested. I love making candles, then why not convert my hobby into a venture and involve those rural women? Also, she thought. This led to the establishment of Namchi Designer Candles with the help of NEDFI, some financial institutions, and support from different stakeholders in various dimensions. Since then, the women have never looked back despite challenges. The women also faced a lot of harassment, but they could overcome all those troubles. Namshi Designer Candles had 100% women as employees and they also produce variety of candles. During Diwali, they produce they produce customized candles meant for the occasion. These Diwali themed candles have been a success in Sikkim as its demand increases on a yearly basis. Namchi Designer Candles has been receiving numerous awards for such as Northeast Women Entrepreneur of the Year 2015-16 for Sikkim and Srimanthal Shankar Mission of Guwahati on 26th April 2018 at New Delhi. A typical day in Smita's life consists of a series of interrelated and continuous functions. She has to plan a special festive collection for Diwali. This means organizing more funds and recruiting more workers. She also has to regularly communicate with her suppliers to ensure that deadlines regarding delivery of goods are met. In the course of the day, she meets customers for a general feedback and any suggestions that they may have. Smita is managing Namshi Designer Candles, so is the principal managing your school. They all manage organizations, schools, hospitals, shops, and large corporations are all organizations with diverse goals that are aimed at achieving something. No matter what the organization is or what its goal might be, they all have something in common: management and managers. You have observed that Smita's work as a manager consists of a series of different activities or functions aimed at achieving the goals of the organizations. These interconnected and interdependent functions are part of management. Successful organizations do not achieve their goals by chance but by following a deliberate process called management. Definitions of management. Management is the process of designing and maintaining an environment in which individuals working together in groups efficiently accomplish selected aims. Harold Kuhns and Heinz Wirich. Management is defined as the process of planning, organizing, accreting, and controlling an organization's operations in order to achieve coordination of the human and material resources essential in the effective and efficient attainment of objectives. By Robert L. Chivalry and M. Jane Newport. Management is the process of working with and through others to effectively achieve organizational objectives by efficiently using limited resources in the changing environment. By treatment. Management is essential for all organizations, big or small, profit or non-profit services or manufacturing. Management is necessary so that individuals make their best contributions towards the group objectives. Management consists of a series of interrelated functions that are performed by all managers. Later in this chapter, you will understand that although both of them are managers, they function at different levels in the organization. The time spent by managers in different functions, however, is different. Managers at the top level spend more time in planning and organizing than managers at the lower level of the organization. Concept. Management is a very popular term and has been used extensively for all types of activities and maintaining for taking charge of different activities in an enterprise. As you have seen from the above example and case study, that management is an activity which is necessary wherever there is a group of people working in an organization. People in organizations are performing diverse tasks, but they are all working towards the same goal. Management aims at guiding their efforts through towards achieving a common objective, a goal. Thus, management has to see that tasks are completed and goals are achieved, that is, effectiveness, with the least amount of resources at a minimum cost, that is, efficiency. Management has therefore been defined as a process of getting things done with the aim of achieving goals effectively and efficiently. We need to analyze this definition. There are certain terms which require elaboration. These are A. Process, B. Efficiency, B. Effectivity, C. Efficiency. Process is, in the definition, means the primary function or activities that management performs to get things done. These functions are planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling, which we will discuss later in the chapter and the book. Being effective or doing work effectively basically means finishing the given task. Effectiveness in management is concerned with doing the right task, completing activities, and achieving goals. In other words, it is concerned with the end result. But it is not enough to just complete the task. There is another aspect also, that is being efficient, or as we say, doing work efficiently. Efficiency means doing the task correctly and with minimum cost. There is a kind of cost benefit analysis involved and the relationship between the inputs and outputs. If by using less resources, that is the inputs, more benefits are derived, that is the output, then efficiency has increased. Efficiency is also increased when, for the same benefits of or the outputs, fewer resources are used and lesser costs are incurred. Input resources are money, material, equipment, and persons required to do a particular task. Obviously, management is concerned with the efficient use of these resources because they reduce the cost and ultimately lead to higher profits. Effectiveness versus efficiency. These two terms are different, but they are interrelated. For management, it is important to be both effective and efficient. Effectiveness and efficiency are two sides of the same coin, but these two aspects need to be balanced and at times but management at times has to compromise with efficiency. For example, it is easier to be effective and ignore efficiency, that is, complete the given task but at a high cost. Suppose a company's target production is 5,000 units in a year. To achieve this target, the manager has to operate on double shifts due to power failure. Most of the time, the manager is able to produce 5,000 units but at a higher production cost. In this case, the manager was effective but not so efficient, since for the same output, more inputs, labor cost, electricity cost were used. At times, a business may concentrate more on producing goods with fewer resources, that is, cutting down the cost, but not achieving the target production. Consequently, the goods do not reach the market and hence the demand for them declines and competitors enter the market. This is the case of being efficient and but not effective since the goods did not reach the market. Therefore, it is important for management to achieve the goals effectiveness with minimum resources, that is, as effective as efficiently as possible while maintaining a balance between effectiveness and efficiency. Usually, high efficiency is associated with high effectiveness, which is the aim of all managers, but undue emphasis on high efficiency without being effective is also not desirable. Poor management is due to both inefficiency and ineffectiveness. Characteristics of management. After going through some of the definitions, we find some elements that may be called the basic characteristics of management. 1. Management is a goal oriented process. An organization has a set of basic goals which are the basic reason for its existence. These should be simple and clearly stated. Different organizations have different goals. For example, the goal of a retail store may be to increase sales, but the goal of a Plastics Society of India is to impart education to children with special needs. Management unites the efforts of different individuals in the organization towards achieving these goals. The management mantra from GE. Jack Welch was appointed CEO of GE in 1981. At that time, the firm had a market capitalization of $13 billion. In 2000, when he stepped down, the firm's turnover had increased multifold to $500 billion. What was the secret of Welch's success? He has laid down the following points for managers to be successful. Create a vision and then ignite your organization to make that vision a reality. Get people so passionate about what they are doing that they cannot wait to execute this plan. Have great energy, competitive spirit, and the ability to spark excitement and achieve results. Search for leaders who have the same quality. Focus on strategic issue. Your job is to understand the vital issues within each of your businesses. Recognize the talent needed to win in those markets. Focus on the main issue. Your job is to see the big picture. Don't manage every detail. Don't get caught up in the minute details, but instead inspire others to execute some of your vision. Surround yourself with great people and trust them to do their job and contribute their best to the organization. Involve everyone and welcome great ideas from everywhere. Anyone can be a leader just so long as they contribute, and the most meaningful way for anyone to contribute is to come up with a good idea. Business is all about getting the best ideas from everyone. New ideas are the lively lifeblood of the organization, the fuel that makes it run. The hero is the person with a new idea. There is simple nothing more important to an organization than expressing ideas and creating a vision. Lead by example. To spark others to perform, you must lead by example. Jack Welch's mastery of the four E's of leadership: energy, energize, edge, and execution was always in evidence. He had great energy, sparked others, had incredible competitive spirit, and had a record to execution that was second to none. This is the key of the Welsh phenomenon. He had been lacking in any of the had he been lacking in any of these traits he espoused, he would not have commanded such acclaim. Second, management is all pervasive. The activities involved an org- in managing an enterprise are common to all organizations, whether economic, social, or political. A petrol pump needs to be managed as much as a hospital or a school. What managers do in India, the USA, Germany, or Japan is the same. How they do it may be quite different. This difference is due to the difference in culture and tradition in tra- and history. Third, management is multidimensional. Management is a complex activity that has three main dimensions. They are A. Management at work. All organizations exist for the performance of some work. In a factory, a product is manufactured. In a garment store, a customer's need is satisfied. And in a hospital, a patient is treated. Management translates this work in terms of goals to be achieved and assigns the means to achieve it. This is done in terms of problems to be solved, decisions to be made, plans to be established, budgets to be prepared, responsibilities to be assigned, and authorities to be delegated. B. Management of people. Human resources or people are an organization's greatest asset. Despite all development in technology, getting work done through people is still a major task for the managers. Managing people has two dimensions. One, it simply it implies dealing with employees and individuals with diverse needs and behavior. Two, it also means dealing with individuals as a group of people. The task of the management is to make people work towards achieving the organization's goal by making their strength effective and their weakness irrelevant. Management C. Management of operation. No matter what the organization, it has some basic products or services to provide in order to survive. This requires a production process which entails the flow of input materials and the technology for transforming the input into a desired output for consumption. This is interlinked with both the management of work and the management of people. 4. Management is a continuous process. The process of management is a series of continuous, composite, but separate functions: planning, organizing, directing, staffing, and controlling. These functions are simultaneously performed by all the managers at all time. You may have observed that Smita at Namchi Designer Candles performs several different tasks in a single day. Some days she may spend more time in planning a future exhibition, and on another day she may spend time in sorting out the employee's problem in problem. The task of manager consists of an ongoing series of functions. Management is a group activity. An organization is a collection of diverse individuals with different needs. Each member of the group has a different purpose for joining the organization, but as members of the organization, they work towards fulfilling the common organizational goal. This requires teamwork and coordination of individual effort in a common direction. Planning, organizing, leading, controlling human resources, financial resources, physical resources, information resources. Management is a multidimensional activity. At the same time, management should enable all its members to grow and develop as needs and opportunities change. Management is a dynamic function. Management is a dynamic function and has to adapt itself to the changing environment. An organization interacts with its external environment, which consists of various social, economic, and political factors. In order to be successful, an organization must change itself and its goals according to the needs of the environment. You probably know that McDonald's, the fast food giant, made major changes in its menu to be able to survive in the Indian market. Management is an intangible force. Management is an intangible force that cannot be seen, but its presence can be felt in the way the organization functions. The effect of management is noticeable in an organization, whereas where targets are met according to the plans, employees are happy and satisfied, and there is orderliness instead of chaos. Objectives of management. Management seeks to achieve certain objectives which are the desired results of any activity. They must be derived from the basic purpose of the business. In any organization, there are different objectives, and management has to achieve all objectives in an effective and efficient manner. Objectives can be classified into organizational objectives, social objectives, and personal or individual objectives. Organizational objectives. Number one, management is responsible for setting and achieving objectives for the organization. It has to achieve a variety of objectives in all areas consisting the considering the interest of all stakeholders, including stakeholders, employees, customers, and the government. The main objectives of any organization should be to utilize human and material resources to maximize the possible advantages, that is, to fulfill the economic objectives of a business. These are survival, profit, and growth. First, survival. The basic objective of any business is survival. Management must strive to ensure the survival of the organization. In order to survive, an organization must earn enough revenue to cover costs, profits. Mere survival is not enough for business. Management has to ensure that the organization makes a profit. Profit provides a vital incentive for the continued successful operation of the enterprise. Profit is essential for covering cost and risk of the business. Growth. A business needs to add to its prospects in the long run. For this, it is important for the business to grow. To remain in the industry, management must exploit fully the growth potential of the organization. Growth of the business can be measured in terms of the sales volume increase in the number of employees, the number of products, or the increase in the capital investment, etc. There can be another indicator of growth. Social objective. It involves the creation of benefits for society. As a part of society, every organization, whether it is business or non business, has a social objective to fulfill. ITC Empowering Rural India. A quiet digital renovation is reshaping the lives of farmers in remote Indian villages. In these villages, farmers grow soya beans, wheat, and coffee in small plots of land as they have done for thousands of years. A typical village has no reliable electricity and has antiquated telephone lines. The farmers are largely illiterate and have never seen a computer, but farmers in these villages are conducting e business through an initiative called e Chopal, created by ITC, one of India's largest consumer product and agribusiness companies. The ITC's e-Chopal initiative is a fine example of a business organization fulfilling corporate social responsibility. The basic aim of the program is to provide farmers in rural India with the opportunity to make use of a direct marketing channel, eliminating multiple intermediation and wasteful handling and unnecessary transaction costs. It is the single largest information technology based intervention by a corporate entity in rural India, transforming the Indian farmers into a progressive knowledge seeking citizen, enriching him with knowledge and elevating him to a new order of empowerment. Each opal delivers real-time information and customized knowledge to improve the farmer's decision-making ability, thereby better aligning farm in output to market demands, securing better quality, productivity, and improved price discovery. Given the low levels of literacy in the rural sector, the role of the Chopal Sanchalak, and the lead farmer of the village in facilitating physical interface between the computer terminal and the farmer. In facilitating physical interface between the computer terminal and the farmers is central to the project. eChopal smart cards enable farmers identification to provide customized information on the eChopal website. Online transactions are captured to reward farmers for volume and value of usage. The eChopal initiative has found its way into the Harvard Business School as a leading case study illustrating the use of modern technology by a leading business house for the benefits of the rural poor. This refers to consistently creating economic value for various constituents of society. This includes using environmental friendly methods of production, giving employment opportunities to the disadvantaged sections of society, and providing basic amenities like schools and creches to employees. The box given below illustrates how a company can fulfill its social responsibilities. 3. Personal objectives. Organizations are made up of people who have different personalities, backgrounds, experiences, and objectives. They all become part of the organization to satisfy their diverse needs. These vary from financial needs such as competitive salaries and perks, social needs such as peer recognition, and high level needs such as personal growth and development. Management has to reconcile personal goals with organizational objectives for harmony in the organization. Importance of management. Having understood that management is a universal activity that is integral to any organization, we now examine some of the reasons that have made management so important. 1. Management helps in achieving group goals. Management is required not for itself but for achieving the goals of the organization. The task of the manager is to give a common direction to the individual effort in achieving the overall goal of the organization. 2. Management increases efficiency. The aim of a manager is to reduce the cost and increase productivity through better planning, organizing, directing, staffing, and controlling the activities of the organization. 3. Management creates a dynamic organization. All organizations have to function in an environment which is constantly changing. It is generally seen that individuals in an organization resist change as it often means moving from a familiar, secure environment into a newer and more challenging one. Management helps people to adapt to these changes so that the organization is able to maintain its complete edge. Management helps in achieving personal objectives. A manager motivates and leads his team in such a manner that individual members are able to achieve personal goals while contributing to the overall organizational objective. Through motivation and leadership, the management helps individuals to develop team spirit, cooperation, and commitment to group success. 4. Management helps in the development of society. An organization has multiple objectives to serve the purpose of the different groups that constitute it. In the process of fulfilling all these, management helps in the development of the organization, and through that, it helps in the development of the society. It helps to provide good quality products and services, create employment opportunities, adapt new technology for the greater good of the people, and leads the path towards growth and development. Nature of management. Management is as old as civilization. Although modern organizations are of recent origin, organized activities has existed since the time of the ancient civilization. In fact, organizations may be considered the distinguishing features that separated civilized societies from uncivilized ones. The earliest management practices were a set of rules and regulations that grew out of the experiences of governmental and commercial activities. The development of trade and commerce gradually led to the development of management principles and practices. The term management today has several different connotations that highlights the different aspects of its nature. The study of management has evolved over a period of time along with the modern organizations based both on the experience and practices of managers and a set of theoretical relationships. Over a period of time, it has grown into a dynamic subject with its own special characteristics. However, one question that needs to be addressed pertaining to the nature of management is whether it is a science or an art or both. In order to answer this, let us examine the features of both science and art to see how the management fulfills them. Management is an art. What is an art? Art is a skillful and personal application of existing knowledge to achieve desired results. It can be acquired through study, observation, and experiences. Since art is concerned with personal application of knowledge, some kind of ingenuity and creativity is required to practice the basic principles learned. The basic features of an art are as follows: 1. Existence of theoretical knowledge. Art presupposes the existence of certain theoretical knowledge. Experts in their respective areas have derived certain basic principles which are applicable to the particular form of art. For example, literature on dancing, public speaking, acting, or music is widely recognized. 2. Personalized application. The use of this basic knowledge varies from individual to individual. Art, therefore, is a very personalized concept. For example, two dancers, two speakers, two actors, or two writers will always differ in demonstrating their art. 3. Based on practice and creativity. All art is practical. Art involves the creative practice of existing theoretical knowledge. We know that all music is based on seven basic notes. However, what makes the composition of a musician unique or different is his use of these notes in a creative manner that is entirely his own interpretation. Management can be said to be an art since it satisfies the following criteria. 1. A successful manager practices the art of management in the day to day job of managing an enterprise based on study, observation, and experience. There is a lot of literature available in various areas of management like marketing, finance, and human resources, which the manager has to specialize in. There is existence of theoretical knowledge. There are various theories of management as pro- propounded by many management thinkers which prescribe certain universal principles. A manager applies these scientific methods and body of knowledge to a given situation, an issue, or a problem in his own unique manner. A good manager works through a combination of practice, creativity, imagination, initiative, and innovation. A manager achieves perfection after long practice. Students of management also apply these principles differently depending on how creative they are. A manager applies this acquired knowledge in a personalized and skillful manner in the light of the realities of a given situation. He is involved in the activities of the organization, studies critical situation and formulates his own theories for use in a given situation. This gives rise to different styles of management. The best managers are committed and dedicated in individuals, highly trained and educated, with personal qualities such as ambition, self motivation, creativity, and imagination, a desire for development of the self and the organization they belong to. All management practices are based on the same set of principles. What distinguishes a successful manager from a less successful one is the ability to put these principles into practice. Management as a science. Science is a systematized body of knowledge that explains certain general truth or the operation of general laws. The basic features of science are as follows. Some interesting cross-disciplinary perspectives. Anthropology. Anthropology is the study of societies which helps us learn about human beings and their activities. Anthropologies work on culture and environments, for instance, has helped managers to better understand differences in fundamental values, attitudes, and behavior between people in different countries and within different organizations. Economics. Economics is concerned with the allocation and distribution of scarce resources. It provides us with an understanding of the changing economic as well as the role of competition and free markets in the global con- context. An understanding of free trade and the protectionist policies is absolutely essential to any manager operating in a global market, and these topics are addressed by economists. Philosophy courses inquire into the nature of things, particularly value and ethics. Ethics are standards that govern the human conduct. These ethics have shaped today's organization by providing a basic for legitimate authority, linking rewards to performance, and justifying the existence of business and the corporate forms. Political science. Political science is the study of behavior of the individual and groups within a political environment. Management is affected by a nation's form of government by whether it allows its citizens to hold property, by its citizens' ability to engage in and enforce contracts, and by the appeal mechanism available to redress grievance. A nation stand on property, contracts, contracts, and justice in turn shapes the type, form, and policies of its organization. Philosophy. Philosophy. Sorry. Psychology. Psychology is the science that seeks to measure, explain, and sometimes change the behavior of humans and other animals. Today's managers confront both a diverse customer base and a diverse set of employees. Psychologists' efforts to understand gender and cultural diversity provides managers with a better perception of the needs of their changing customer and employee populations. Psychology courses are also relevant to managers in terms of gaining a better understanding of motivation, leadership, trust, employee selection, performance appraisal, and training techniques. Sociology. Sociology is the study of people in relation to their fellow human beings. What are some of the sociological issues that have relevance to managers? Here are a few. How a societal change how are societal changes such as globalization, increase in cultural diversity, changing gender roles, and varying forms of family life affecting organizational practices? What are the implications of schooling practices and education trends on future employees' skills and abilities? Answer the questions such as these have a major effect on how managers operate their business. 1. Systematized body of knowledge. Science is a systematized body of knowledge. Its principles are based on a cause and effect relationship. For example, the phenomenon of an apple falling from a tree towards the ground is explained by the law of gravity. Principles based on experimentation. Scientific principles are first developed through observation and then tested through repeated experimentation under controlled conditions. Universal validity. Scientific principles have universal validity and application. Based on the above features, we can say that management has some characteristics of science. First, management has a systematized body of knowledge. It has its own theory and principles that have developed over a period of time, but it also draws on other disciplines such as economics, sociology, psychology, and mathematics. Like all other organized activity, management has its own vocabulary of terms and concepts. For example, all of us discuss sports like cricket and soccer using common vocabulary. The players also use these terms to communicate with each other. Similarly, managers need to communicate with one another with the help of common vocabulary for a better understanding of their situation. 2. The principles of management have been evolved over a period of time based on repeated experimentation and observation in different types of organization. However, since management deals with human beings and human behavior, the outcomes of these experiments are not capable of being accurately predicted or replicated. Therefore, management can be called an inexact science. Despite these limitations, management scholars have been able to identify general principles of management. For example, scientific management principles by F.W. Taylor and Functional Management Principles by Henry Fair, which you will study in the next chapter. Since the principles of management are not as exact as the principles of science, their application and use is not universal. They have to be modified according to the given situation. However, they provide managers with certain standardized techniques that can be used in different situations. These principles These principles are also used for training and development of managers. You must have understood from the foregoing discussion that management has features of both art and science. The practice of management is an art. However, managers can work better if their practice is based on principle of management. These principles constitute the science of management. Management as an art and a science are therefore not mutually exclusive but complement to each other. Management as a profession. You have understood so far that all forms of organized activities need to be managed. You would also have observed that in organizations look for individuals with specific qualifications and experience to manage them. It has also been observed that there has been an increase in the corporate form of business. On the other hand, an increasing emphasis on managed business concerns. Does this imply that management is a profession? To answer this question, let us examine the salient features of the profession and see what management satisfies them. A profession has the following characteristics. 1. Well defined body of knowledge. All professions are based on a well defined body of knowledge that can be acquired through instructions. 2. Restricted entity. The entity to a profession is restricted through an examination or through acquiring an educational degree. For example, to become a chartered accountant in India, a candidate has to clear a specified examination conducted by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. 3. Professional association. All professions are affiliated to a professional association which regulates entry, grants certificate of practice, and formulates and enforces a code of conduct. To be able to practice in India, lawyers have to become members of the Bar Council, which regulates and controls their activities. Ethical code of conduct. All professions are bound by a code of conduct which guides the behavior of its members. All doctors, for example, take the oath of the ethical practices at the time they enter the profession. Service motive. The basic motive of a profession is to serve the client's interests by rendering dedicated and committed services. The task of a lawyer is to ensure that his client gets justice. Management does not meet the exact criteria of a profession, however, does have some of the features of a profession. All over the world, there is a marked growth in management as a discipline. It is based on the systematic body of knowledge compromising well defined principles based on a variety of business situations. This knowledge can be acquired at different colleges and professional institutions and through a number of books and journals. The subject of management is taught at different institutions. Some of them have been set up with the specific purpose of providing management education, such as the Indian Institute of Management (IIMs) in India. Entry to different institutions is usually through the examination. There is no restriction on anyone being dis- designated or appointed as manager in any business enterprise. Anyone can be called a manager irrespective of the educational qualification possessed, unlike professions such as medicine or law, which requires practicing which requires a practicing doctor or lawyer to possess a valid degree. Nowhere in the world it is mandatory for a manager to possess any such specific degree, but professional knowledge and training is considered to be a desirable qualification since there is a greater demand for those who possess degrees or diplomas from reputed institutions. Therefore, as such, the second criterion mm, has has not been strictly met. There are several associations of practicing managers in India, like the AIMA, All India Management Association, that has laid down a code of conduct to regulate the activities of their members. There is, however, no compulsion for managers to be members of such an association, nor does it have any statutory backing. For the basic purpose of management is to help the organization achieve its stated goal. This may be profit maximization for a business enterprise and service for a hospital. However, profit maximization as the objective of management does not hold true and is fast changing. Therefore, if an organization has a good management team that is efficient and effective, it automatically serves society by providing good quality products at reasonable prices. Levels of management. Management is a universal term used for certain functions performed by individuals in an enterprise who are bound together in a hierarchy of relationships. Every individual in the hierarchy is responsible for successful completion of a particular task. To be able to fulfill their responsibility, he is assigned a certain amount of authority or the right to take a decision. This authority responsibility relationship binds individuals as supervisors and subordinates and gives rise to different levels in the organization. Generally speaking, there are three levels in the hierarchy of an organization. Top management. This consists of the senior-most executives of the organization by whatever names they are called. They are usually referred to as the chairman, the chief executive officer, chief operating officer, president, and vice president. Top management is a term consisting of managers from different functional levels, heading finance, marketing, etc. For example, chief finance officer, vice president, marketing. Their basic task is to integrate diverse elements and coordinate the activities of different departments according to the overall objectives of the organization. These top level managers are responsible for the welfare These top level managers are responsible for the welfare and survival of the organization. They analyze the business environment and its implications for the survival of the firm. They formulate overall organizational goals and strategies for their achievements. They are responsible for all the activities of the business and for its impact on the society. The job of the top manager is complex and stressful, demanding long hours and commitment or to the organization. Middle management. It is the link between the top and the lower level managers. They are subordinate to the top managers and superior to the first line managers. They are usually known as division heads. For example, production managers. Middle manager is responsible for implementing and controlling plans and strategies developed by the top management. At the same time, they are responsible for all the activities of the first line managers. Their main task is to carry out the plans formulated by the top managers. For this, they need to interpret the policies framed by top management. Second, ensure that their department has the necessary personnel. Three, assign necessary duties and responsibilities to them. Four, motivate them to achieve the desired objectives. And five, cooperate with other departments for smooth functioning of the organization. At the same time, they are responsible for all the activities of the first line managers. Number three, supervisory or operational management. Foremen and supervisors uh, comprise the lower level in the hierarchy of the organization. Supervisors directly oversee the efforts of the workforce. They, their authority and responsibility is limited according to the plans drawn by the top management. Supervisory management plays a very important role in the organization since they interact with the actual workforce and pass on instructions of the middle management to the workers. Though their efforts quality of output is maintained, a wastage of material is minimized, and safety standards are maintained. The quality of the workmanship and the quantity of output depends on the hard work, discipline, and loyalty of the workers. Functions of management. Management is described as the process of planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the efforts of the organizational members and of using organizational resources to achieve specific goals. Planning is the function of determining in advance what is to be done and who is to do it. This implies setting goals in advance and developing a way of achieving them effectively and efficiently. In Smita's organization, the objectives is production and sales of the candles. Smita has to decide the quantity, the variety, and color, and then allocate resources of their purchase for from different suppliers. Planning cannot prevent problems, but it can predict them and prepare contingency plans to deal with them if and when they occur. Organizing is the management function of assigning duties, grouping tasks, establishing authority, and allocating resources required to carry out the specific plan. Once a specific plan has been established for accomplishment of an organizational goal, the organization functions as examine the activities and resources required to implement the plan. It determines what activities and resources are required. It decides who will do a particular task, where it will be done, and when it will be done. Organizing involves the grouping of the required tasks into manageable departments or work until the establishment of authority and reporting relationship within the organization hierarchy. Proper organizational techniques help in the accomplishment of the work and promote both the efficiency of operations and the effectiveness of results. Different kinds of business require different structures according to the nature of the work. You will read more about this in a later chapter. Staffing. Staffing, simply stated, is finding the right people for the right job. A very important aspect of management is to make sure that the right people with the right qualification are available at the right place and times to accomplish the goals of the organization. This is also known as the human resource functions, and it involves activities such as recruitment, selection, placement, and training of personnel. Infosys Technologies, which develops software, needs system analysis and programs. Directing. Directing involves leading, influencing, and motivating employees to perform the task assigned to them. This requires establishing an atmosphere that encourages employees to do their best. Motivation and leadership are two key components of direction. Directing also involves communicating effectively as well as supervising employees at work. Motivating workers means simply creating an environment that makes them want to work. Leadership is influencing others to do what the leaders want them to do. A good manager directs through praise and criticism in such a way that it brings out the best in the employees. Controlling is the management function of monitoring organizational performance towards an attainment of organizational goals. The task of controlling involves establishing standard of performance, measuring current performance, comparing this with established standards, and taking corrective actions where any deviation is found. Here, management must determine what activities and output are critical to success, how and where they can be measured, and who should have the authority to take the corrective action. The various functions of a manager are usually discussed in the order given above, suggesting that a manager first plans, then organizations, puts staff in position, then directs, and finally controls. In reality, managers are rarely able to carry out these functions in isolation. The activity of a manager are interrelated, and it is often difficult to pinpoint where one ends and the other began. Coordination, the essence of management. You have understood by now that a manager has to perform five interrelated functions in the process of managing an organization which is a system made up of different interlinked and interdependent subsystems. A manager has to link these diverse groups towards the achievement of a common goal. The process by which a manager synchronizes the activities of different departments is known as coordination. Coordination is the force that binds all the other functions of the management. It is the common threads that runs through all activities such as purchase, production, sales, and finance to ensure continuity in the working and the of the organization. Coordination is sometimes considered a separate function of management. It is, however, the essence of management for achieving harmony among efforts towards the accomplishment of a group goal. Each managerial function is an exercise contributing individually to coordination. Coordination is implicit and inherent in all functions of an organization. The process of coordinating the activities of an organization begins at the planning stage itself. The top management plans for the entire organization. According to these plans, the organizational structure is developed and staffed. In order to ensure that these plans are executed according to plans directing is required. Any discrepancies between the actual and realized activities are then taken care of at the stage of controlling. It is through the process of coordination that a manager ensures the orderly arrangement of the individual and the group efforts to ensure unity of action in the realization of the common objectives. Coordination therefore involves synchronization of the different actions or efforts of the various units of the organization. This provides the requisite amount quality, timing, and sequence of efforts which ensure that planned objectives are achieved with a minimum of conflict. Characteristics of coordination. The definition given above highlights the following features of coordination. 1. Coordination integrates group efforts. Coordination unifies unrelated or diverse interests into purposeful work activity. It gives a common focus to group efforts to ensure that performance is as well it was planned and scheduled. 2. Coordination ensures unity of action. The purpose of coordination is to secure unity of action in the realization of a common purpose. It acts as the binding force between departments and ensures that all action is aimed at achieving the goal of the organization. At Namchi Designer Candles, the production and the sales department have to coordinate their work so that the production takes place according to the demand in the market. 3. Coordination is a continuous process. Coordination is not a one time function but a continuous process. It begins at the planning stage and continues till the controlling. Smita plans her Diwali collection in the month of June itself. She has to then ensure that there is adequate workforce and continuously monitor whether production is proceeding according to the plan. Her marketing department also has to be briefed in time to prepare their promotional and advertising campaigns. 4. Coordination is an all pervasive function. Coordination is required at all the levels of management due to the interdependent nature of the activities of various departments. It integrates the efforts of different departments and different levels. The purpose, the production, and the sales department efforts have to be coordinated by Smita for achieving organizational objectives harmoniously. The purchase department is responsible for producing fabric. This then becomes the basis for of the activities of the production department. And finally, sales can take place. If fabric purchased is of an inferior quality or is not according to the specifications of the production department. Further, sales will also decline in the absence of coordination. There is overlapping and chaos instead of harmony and integration of activities. Coordination is the responsibility of all managers. Coordination is the function of every manager in the organization. Top level managers need to coordinate with their subordinates to ensure that the overall policies for the organization are duly carried out. Middle level management coordinates with both the top level and the first line managers. Operational level management coordinates with the activities of its workers to ensure that the work proceeds according to plans. 4. Coordination is a deliberate function. A manager has to coordinate the efforts of the different people in a conscious and deliberate manner. Even where members of a department willingly cooperate and work, coordination gives a direction to that to willing spirit. Cooperation is in the absence of the coordination may lead to wasted efforts, and coordination without cooperation may lead to dissatisfaction among employees. Coordination, therefore, is not a separate function of management, but its very essence. For an organization to effectively and efficiently achieve its objectives, coordination is required. Like a thread in a garland, coordination is a part of all management function. Importance of coordination. Coordination is important as it integrates the efforts of individuals, departments, and specialists. The primary reason for the coordination is that departments and individuals in the organization are interdependent. Definitions of coordination. Coordination is balancing and keeping together the team by ensuring suitable allocation of the tasks to the various members and seeing that the tasks are performed with harmony among the members themselves by EFL breach. Coordination is the process whereby an executive develops an orderly pattern of group efforts among his subordinates and secures unity of action in the pursuit of common purpose. McFarland. Coordination is the orderly synchronizing of efforts of subordinates to provide proper amount, timing, and quality of execution so that their united efforts lead to these standard objectives, namely the common purpose of the enterprise. Theo Heyman. That is, they depend on each other for information and resources to perform their respective activities. Thus, managers need to reconcile differences in approach, timing, efforts, or interests. At the same time, there is a need to harmonize individual goals and organizational goals. 1. Growth and size. An organization's growth and size, the number of people employed by the organization, also increases. At times, it may become difficult to integrate their efforts and activities. All individuals differ in their habits of work, background, approaches to situations, and relationships with others. It becomes necessary to ensure that all individuals work towards the common goals of the organizations. But employees may have their own individual goals also. Therefore, for organizational efficiency, it is important to harmonize individual goals and organizational goals through coordination. Second, functional difference. Functions of an organization are divided into departments, division, and sections. In an organization, there may be separate departments for finance, production, marketing, or human resources. All these departments may have their own objectives, policies, and their own style of working. For example, the marketing department objective may be to increase the sales by 10% by offering discount, but the finance department may not approve of such discount as it means loss of revenue. These kind of conflict arise in organizations because each unit or department is performing activities in isolation from others and barriers between departments are becoming more rigid. However, all departments and individuals are interdependent and they have to depend on each other for information to perform their activities. The activities of each department need to be focused on attainment of common organizational goals. This process of linking the activities of various departments is accompanied by coordination. Dabbawalas, excellence through coordination. The Dabbawalas of Mumbai is the story of a Six Sigma business enterprise. The success of the business lies in the complex yet well coordinated exercise that is carried out on the streets of Mumbai day after day. What is the secret behind the efficiency with which their business is conducted? The story of the Dabbawalas began in the kitchen of Mumbai. After they step out of their door, someone brings the time-consuming process of preparing the worker a fresh home-cooked lunch. What happens next for demonstrates to demonstrate for what happens next for demonstrates the coordination of the Dabbawala system. The first Dabbawala picks up the tiffin from home and takes it to the nearest railway station. The second Dabbawala sorts out the dabbas at the railway station according to the destination and puts them in the luggage carrier. The third one travels with the dabbas to the railway station nearest to the destination. The fourth one picks up the dabbas from the railway station and drops them off at the offices. By mid-morning, thousands of dabbawalas are bicycling through the streets of Mumbai, ensuring a hot home-cooked lunch for their customers. The whole tiffin distribution requires negligible technology. The dabbawalas rely on low capital and use cycles, wooden carriages, and local trains to achieve their target. There are several groups that work independently and network with each other to achieve their goal. Each area is divided into several small distribution sectors, and each sector is handled by a particular person. This person understands the address in the locality very well. Also, this perfection comes with practice. Many new employees work for months under the guidance of their seniors. Punctuality and time management are on top of the agenda of for Dabbawalas. Whatever be the circumstances, the Dabbawalas never get delayed even by a few minutes. Management in the 21st century. Even as you read this chapter, the organization and its management are changing. As boundaries between cultures and nations get blurred and new communication technologies makes it possible to think of the world as a global village. The scope of the international and intercultural relationship is rapidly expanding. The modern organization is a global organization that has to be managed in a global perspective. What does this imply? A global manager today is one who possesses who can what can be termed as hard type of skills as well as softer types of skills. Managers who understand, analyze, strategy, engineering, and technology are still going to be needed, but extremely critical to global success are people who understand how teams work, how organizations work, how people are motivated. A manager who really understands different cultures should be able to work in a West European, non-English speaking country, then move to a deploying developing country like Malaysia or Kenya, and then be transferred to an office based in the New York, USA, and be almost immediately productive in all these three places. It can thus be understood that the role of a global manager has evolved in much the same way that the global industry and economy have evolved. It has changed from being a single dimensional role or define business content to being a multifaceted role that calls for a diverse combination of technological skills, soft management and people skills, and the ability to imbibe and learn different cultural experiences. Third, specialization. Modern organizations are characterized by a high degree of specialization. Specialization arises out of the complexities of modern technology and the diversity of the task in the performance. Organizations, therefore, need to employ a number of specialities. Specialities usually think that they only are qualified to evaluate, judge, and decide according to their professional criteria. They do not take advices or suggestions from others in matters pertaining to their area of specialization. This often leads to conflict among different specialists as well as others in the organization. Therefore, some coordination is required by an independent person to reconcile the difference in approach, interest, or opinion of the specialities. Management in the 21st century. Even as you read this chapter, the organization and the management are changing as boundaries between culture and nations are get blurred and new communication technologies makes it possible to think of the world as a global village. The scope of international and intercultural relationship is rapidly expanding. The modern organization is a global organization that has to be managed in a global perspective. What does this imply? Summary. Concept. Management is the process of planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling the enterprise resources efficiently and effectively for achieving the goals of the organization. Effectiveness in management is concerned with doing the right task, completing activities, and achieving the goals. Efficiency means doing the task correctly and with the minimum cost. Characteristics. The key characteristics of management are: 1. Goal oriented process, 2. All pervasive, 3. Multidimensional, 4. Continuous process, 5. Group activity, 6. Dynamic function, 7. Tangible force. Objectives. Management fulfills three basic objectives: organizational, social, and personal. Importance. Management is important because it helps in achieving the group goals, increases efficiency, creates a dynamic organization, helps to achieve the personal objectives, and contributes to the development of society. Nature. Management is a combination of an organized body of knowledge, science, and its skillful application art. Although it does not satisfy all the requirements of the profession, it is to a large extent professional in character. Levels. Management consists of a three-tier activity. Top management focuses on determination of objectives and policies. Middle management attempts to achieve these objectives through the efforts of other managers, and supervisory or operational management directly oversees the efforts of the workforce. Functions. All managers perform the following interrelated functions: planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. Coordination. Coordination is the essence of management. It is the process of achieving unity of action among the interdependent activities and departments of the organization.